This is episode 30 of the Arts Academy podcast with Victor Varnado and Roxxy Haze. How to get into a comedy festival without auditioning, with special guest Patrick Higgins.
Hey, welcome to the Alt Arts Academy podcast. I am Dean Victor Varnado of the New York Alt Arts Academy. And of course, we have our Deputy Headmistress Roxxy Haze.
It's me.
There she is. And a special guest today is Patrick Higgins. Thanks for stopping by. Patrick's a comedian, also runs the Hilarious Comedy Festival. We're going to be talking about two things today. One, how to get in the comedy festival without auditioning for a comedy festival. And two, we're going to be talking about just how to run a comedy festival or how to start a comedy festival. That's what we're going to be talking to you about, Patrick. Okay, so first of all of us, as opposed to including all the things that we do, we're also all comedians here, okay? Mm-hmm. Patrick is a comedian, Roxy is a comedian, I'm a comedian, and comedians, if you're in comedy or if you know this, but if you're just starting comedy, you might not know this. Comedians always do comedy festivals. There's comedy festivals of varying sizes. You get a lot from large comedy festivals, but you can also get a lot from small comedy festivals. There's positives to each. I would say like the number one thing you get from large comedy festivals is you really get known and you get those industry contacts, and often people write about those festivals. And the number one thing you get from smaller comedy festivals, at least in my experience, is usually getting regional work. That's like one of the biggest things I ever got out of a small comedy festival, is like the things that I like the most. And of course, community. Mm-hmm. But let's start about what would you say people get most out of your festival, Patrick? The Hilarious Comedy Festival.
I mean, I think it's different for every comedian. And it's all about expectations. Mm-hmm. Like if you go into every festival and you think like, oh man, I'm gonna go to this festival and HBO's gonna be there, but like they don't say, hey, HBO's here. That's you're gonna be let down, right? With my festival, because it is on the smaller side, I think comedians get there's a camaraderie from it. But I also like try and provide things like I got headshots and I videotaped people's sets, right?
That's
so
cool.
They can actually walk away with something, more than just like a T-shirt or a bumper sticker. I also like, it's hilarious, right? So I give weed to people. With mine, it's been different every year. Obviously, this year did not happen. September is a maybe, but that might get pushed out too because safety's most important. Mm-hmm. I would say weed, alcohol, an experience, networking, and the media from it, the video, because every set is taped. Mm-hmm. And the headshots, I still see comedians who use the headshots from the festival like years ago. So I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, you get material.
That's awesome. All right. So I'm going to talk about comedy festivals that I've done. And then the vast majority of comedy festivals that I've ever done, I've got in without having to audition for the comedy festival. And we're going to talk about the ways that has happened. I see Roxy is smiling because I feel like what you're going to think to yourself is you're going to say, well, Victor, you're a semi-well-known comedian. Of course, comedy festivals will let you in. But that, I believe it or not, I wasn't always that, Roxy.
I didn't say anything. But yes, I thought that.
Yeah, but I wasn't always. When I started out, nobody knew who I was at all. In fact, some people once meeting me hated me.
What?
People hate me. A lot of people hate me. It's fine.
You're cool.
Thank you, Roxy, my employee. Thank you for calling me too. Anyway,
I get paid.
I want to say before I go into all of these things, I do want to say that if you use any of these tactics to get into a comedy festival without having to audition, don't suck. Okay, go to the comedy festival. Be ready. actually have something to bring to the comedy festival, because if someone bends the rules to get you into a festival, then you go there and you act a fool, or you're a problem, or you're just awful. then that's on you. So don't suck. Bring something good to the festival. Be worthwhile. All right. So here's the easiest way to get into a comedy festival. This especially works very, very well at smaller comedy festivals. This is the easiest way to be part of a comedy festival without having to audition. Go to the comedy festival. Someone won't show up for their spot. If they know you're a comedian, you'll get on. Period. That's a super easy way. Yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
I would argue that. So the way that I work my festival is there are a few like stand-ins, like locals that I'm like, oh man, I really like them, but they, the judges didn't put them in the top whatever for the year. So what I do is all comedians do at least like 5-minute sets, right? So it's worth it. So they're not just doing like, some comedians I've heard go to comedy festivals do a 3-minute set and that's it. And they travel across country. That's terrible to me. I like them to have a lot of different shows and a lot of experiences and a lot of also, again, opportunities to record a good set that they can use for something different and showcase material. But the way that I work out is like, say I have 10 comedians on a show and for whatever reason, one of them drops out. I either put another comedian from the festival in that spot so I can give someone else even more shows, or I take everyone's set and I reach out and make sure they're comfortable doing longer sets, and I just elongate their sets so they have more time to do more material. But that's because my number one rule with comedy festivals is comedians first. If you got into the festival and especially if you came here from another city or state, like, wow, like how humble am I, like, that you came to do my festival. That's so amazing. Why would I not try and give them the best experience?
I absolutely agree with that people who travel to your festival and people who are giving you their time for the festival, and often it is giving with a smaller festival, you're giving your time. And then definitely work with those people first. But I will say this, at a lot of festivals, if there's not like the person who is part of the festival to be thrown up instead of you, and you're just like there, you often will get a spot, and that doesn't mean that they're going to give you like a ton of spots or something like that. But it usually will happen once or twice. You'll just get thrown up if it's a small festival and they need you.
Okay, so you're saying that's more for smaller festivals, you think, or larger festivals?
Definitely smaller festivals. Larger festivals is not like that. A large festival, people show up for their spots for one, most of the time, and then if people don't show up for their spot, the show is usually prestigious enough so they don't just throw anybody up.
Gotcha. Okay, makes sense.
I would say that. Yeah,
I mean, especially if you know like the producers, I mean, I think that's always a good set or a good thing to do. And there's no one way to run a festival, right? And I run a small festival.
Absolutely.
I just have such like it gives me anxiety at times, like how much I'm focused on like. If the comedians aren't having a good time, I've failed.
I actually think you have. I had one festival where I was furious at the festival because of the festival, the guy who ran the festival. It was, I think, one of the it was like Chicago Sketch Fest or something like that. And this is one of the times where I actually submitted to the festival. This was probably added to me not liking submitting to the festival. I submitted to the festival. I submitted 2 short films, and I also submitted myself as a comedian. And I got in as a comedian, and then I did my first show as a comic at the festival, and I had a great time. And then there was a party after that show, and then someone walked up to me, and they said to me, "Hey, man, I saw your short film. It was hilarious." And I was like, "What?" The festival owner had shown my short films without telling me they had gotten in the festival, so I didn't get a chance to go to the screening at all. What?
So that's disappointing.
Super disappointing. And then he didn't understand how I was upset. He's like, "Well, you're still here doing stand-up," and I was like, "It's a very different thing, and I care. as a filmmaker, you very rarely get to see people actually, an audience, like laughing at your films. And so, anyway, so that was just one of those disappointing things. People do run festivals in lots of different ways. You're right, but being there is one way to get into a festival. Now, this the next way is you can often get invited to a festival if you have something popular that the festival might be interested in. Sometimes festivals want you to submit, but sometimes if you have something that is popular that really fits the theme of the festival, it'll just get right in. You could just send the person an email and they'll be like, yeah, that works for the festival. If you have something that really, really works for the festival. For instance, I have a show that has just been part of the festivals without having to submit. I have an online right now. It's an online talent show called the NYC Talent Show, but it's been just put directly in festivals before because it just allows random people to perform, and then we just kind of like hold the show around the random people performing. That's worked at festivals before, and just because it was a format that really worked for this particular festival, which wanted to showcase people, it was just asked in. Well, not asked in, but just like they just got in through an email. And then because of me being at that festival, they just gave me spots because I was a comedian. So they just did that because I was already at the festival and they were able to utilize me. Okay, so those are a couple of things. Now, these are the next things I'm going to talk about are things that you can do. And most festivals, if you do one of these things, will give you spots at the festivals. This is not a guarantee, nor do they owe you spots at the festival with these things I'm about to tell you about. So don't ever email a festival and be like, hey, I'll do this if you do that for me. I mean, I guess you could, but you'd be an asshole. So here are... You have to edit that out. I'm so sorry. Just beep it. Just like, you're...
Glad it wasn't me.
All right. So here it is. It's very simple. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Help the festival. If you help the festival and you're a competent comedian, very often the festival will just invite you to perform. Here are things that I've done. Yeah, you're right. He's nodding. Look at that. Help the festival.
Yeah. I mean, I run the festival myself, aside from a few people who like run the door and like manage the stage. And if you're willing to lighten my load a little bit in any way, I am eternally grateful. Mm-hmm. So I've definitely put people up who have like ran my door.
And this is like the last three things we're going to talk about all fall under this umbrella. And this is great actually, because I could see that when we were talking earlier, I could see you were a little skeptical of me talking about getting into festivals without auditioning, Patrick.
A little bit.
But then I know, but then what did you say, Roxy?
He smiled and nodded, and I was like, "Oh, that's a good point."
But when I said it, help the festival, he's like, "Yeah, you got me."
Yeah. I admit.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's and this does not come from me wanting to like trick people. It comes from me like I just don't like the submission process in general, and so I will do other things that will be good for festivals. But on top of that, when I also go to the festival, I come prepared. I come with a really solid set. I make them happy that I'm there, like 360. I was gonna say 180, then I realized no, it's 360. So I try to make them happy. So here's three things that I've done to that actually have gotten me in festivals. One, I helped connect them with a big act. Not every festival has connection with the big act, and it's a win-win situation in this case because the festival I connected a larger act with, number one, the festival got that larger act to come to it because they're like a person that I knew, and then number two, the larger act got a paid-for free weekend, which often happens at festivals if they have a larger act that they can count on to come to the festival. Both people were super happy. And then they invited me to be part of the festival as well. And the thing was, the way that it actually started was that the festival reached out to me and asked if I would help them get in contact with the person. I did, and then they asked me along. I feel like it would seem like weird doing the other way around, like just hawking your friends out to festivals. but that's just one way that a festival invited me, where I mean, and this is the sense of just like, be nice and help people with information when it makes sense. So that connection helped them, and then they put me in the festival. Here's another thing that you can do. Teach a class or workshop. If you have a class or workshop that works for a festival and you write the festival and say, hey, I could teach a workshop on X, then often they will put you in the festival. I was in the Women in Comedy Festival. I was one of very few men in the Women in Comedy Festival because I was like, it was a city that was close by, and I was like, I wanted to go do this festival. I knew I couldn't headline there because, strangely enough, men don't headline at the Women in Comedy Festival. So what I said was, hey, I have this workshop that I taught before about how to produce like DIY to do your own like comedy special, like just how to DIY and still make it look professional. And then like a different tiers of dollars, like for $0, what you could do for like $200, what you could do for like $700, and different ways that things would look good. And I taught that workshop at the festival, and all was good. And they invited me, and I had a really good time. And now I'm a woman. All right.
Works.
Yeah. It totally worked out. I said there was what?
Here.
You what?
You said the science here.
Science?
You got glasses. It's science.
Yeah, we're all scientists.
Mine are fake.
Hey, you know what? Fake it till you make it, Roxy.
Exactly. Have people helped you out in other ways that have endeared you to them to such a point that you wanted to put them in the festival?
Not really, because aside from the judging of the videos, all the aspects of the festival until it actually is an event happening, I pretty much do myself. So I don't usually have anyone outside of myself that's doing things that could offer anything. Maybe someone could help, like social media posting, because I'm terrible at that. But aside from that, I can't think of anything. Photography was definitely a good one. One of the students suggested. And yeah, so offering that is definitely something great.
Cool.
I think that if you have any skills at all, especially in organization or marketing in general, you could probably help festivals that way too. Like if you're an amazing graphic artist, you could just be like, in fact, you could probably do these two things. You could reach out to festivals and say, hey, I'd love to help design like a t-shirt for your festival. And then not only that, like if the festival was smart, what they would do was they would also cut you in on the profit of what those t-shirts sold as well.
I was going to say, you don't want to offer too much to festivals for free. As an artist, you never, like, if someone came to me and they're like, hey, I want to design a poster and I won't charge you, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I'd check it out. But also, like, that person could have been like, hey, I made this poster idea. Would you like to buy it? And then I'd consider buying it and paying for it. Never sell yourself short. Getting into a festival is great, but the bigger festivals usually have like graphic designers and stuff for them, and the smaller ones, like, they have to be able to give you something. A festival spot is good, but I never like artists doing something for completely pro bono, or like, I guess a festival spot is good, but I'd say see if you can get more.
Okay. Well, I guess I would differ on that because I often do things because I like them, and so if I like something, I'll just do it. For instance, like if I had, if like I would, I mean, I do things just because I like them. In fact, I do a lot of things. Here's an example. I'm a cartoonist, and people pay me a lot of money to make cartoons, but I also do them for free. Because why not? Sometimes I'll see something, I'll like it, and I'll just do a cartoon about it, and then send it to people just because. It's just I guess it's just the way I am. I guess don't do things that make you feel taken advantage of. Obviously, like, and I'm not suggesting that you as a comedian, should do things for people instead of being funny. I'm not suggesting that either. I am saying that for me, the vast majority of festivals that I have done before I got to the point where like people knew who I was, the vast majority of festivals that I have done were festivals where I figured out a way to be part of that festival without having to audition, because I hate making audition tapes for festivals. I hate it. And I'll fight against it with every fiber of my being. Well, I mean, it's not what I don't like making auditions. Who does? Who likes making audition tapes?
I always get extremely nervous when I know I'm recording for something to submit.
Audition tapes, number one, are no fun to make. Number two, they're no fun to go through a whole pile of them. I mean, I
always like when Patrick nods. It makes me happy. He's like,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of rules with an audition tape that aren't followed.
Oh yeah, people don't listen.
Well, it's not even that. Is like they'll, instead of filming in landscape, they'll film in portrait mode. So that's bad. Or they'll have like potato quality. Or their friend who is like trying to be supportive, which is great, is holding the camera and has a very distinctive laugh whenever a punchline goes. That's problematic. So there are definitely like do's and don'ts for audition tapes. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we can go on and on about audition tapes. I mean, obviously there's like, and in fact, that could be a whole episode of just like how to make a proper audition tape. Could be a whole episode. And there are ways to make audition. In fact, I actually think that people probably have responded to my audition tapes just because I knew what I was doing technically. That's probably like if they can hear the jokes well and the jokes well, and it's on a tripod, like that helps so much.
Yeah, I mean, tripod's like $15, and it's 2020. We're in the technology era. Your phone is sometimes
also coronavirus.
Also what?
Coronavirus.
I don't know what that is. I'm living in my own life.
Get a tripod or coronavirus, one of the two.
Yeah, both.
No, neither.
No, yeah, I'm having the best grapefruit juice. Now it's gone, everyone.
I'd say you were going in on that.
All right.
One of the students just asked, "What's the biggest turnoffs for audition tapes?" And to me, portrait mode is a big thing. Bad audio, bad video, a lot of feedback. You can get a lot of people of my complexion get whited out. So I'm like, what is your face? Are you an angel? You're an angel that just told a poop joke? That's what kind of angel you are? I don't understand it. So, I mean, the elements of, think about what you would want to watch in watching a stand-up, and like, use that as kind of your baseline. Also, one of the things I want to say is I don't judge the videos for the festival, and that's probably one of the best decisions I've made. I have, it's not the same every year. It's pretty consistent though, but I use a combination of actual comedians, like performing, working, like paid comedians, not just like people who do shows every now and then. I have a booker. Actually, and then I have someone who's a producer of a comedy show. So different elements of comedy, and they, I give them an idea of like what a scoring is, and they will watch the video, score the video, and we filter out like that. So your video is watched, if not once, at least twice by two different people of the three. Because obviously some people can be biased or some humor is different for other people. But yeah, so I do that also because I don't want people messaging me angry that they didn't get in the festival. Right? Like the at the point that the comedians get to me, the only like Xing I do out is if like sometimes I'll reach out to a comic I know in a community and be like, hey, so-and-so has a really great set. How are they as a person? And if they're like, oh, well, they love to sexually harass women and make transphobic jokes. And I'm like, cool. Bye. Like, you're not, it's another thing too, is like, it's a small festival. You're going to know every comedian there. And you're going to meet them and like grow a friendship. And I don't want people who are jerks there. We've had, one incident where somebody made an inappropriate comment to a female comedian. And then as soon as I heard about it, before I can even address it with him, he had already apologized and made amends. And that's the only time we've ever had like even a hiccup of someone having an interpersonal issue with somebody, So that's like a big part of it. Small festivals, you usually can't escape. There's usually one green room, So
I want to move on to the second half, but I have to tell you this story just because I did talk for a second about going to the Women in Comedy Festival. So at the Women in Comedy Festival, this woman slapped me in the face. Okay, one of the other women in comedy. Here's what happened. After a show, one of the other comedians was on the show, and she was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm about to go around the corner and boop boop boop." Anyways, she goes, "Can I come?" And I was like, "Sure." And then we both start walking away, and then another comedian, she comes up and she goes, "Where are you two going?" And then I go, "We're about to smoke weed." And she goes, "Don't tell people what we're doing." And she slaps me in the face. Right? Okay. And everyone agrees. No, there's never been a person who's like, Victor, you were wrong. No, she was wrong in that situation. But I was like, I can do nothing because I'm not going to be the guy at the Women in Comedy Festival either yelling at a female comedian or I was like, I'm going to let this one go.
That's why you got to be really good friends with one of the females at the Women in Comedy Festival, or bring a girlfriend and be like, that's the one.
Yeah. Oh, that was done. That happened. I'm just saying at that moment, I was like, I'm going to let this one go.
Remember on Tinder when you said you're looking for a partner in crime? Come here to film.
Check us out at artsacademypodcast.com.